Very good afternoon. On this Friday, Business Live with me, Darren McCaffrey. Well, the Governor of the Bank of England has warned that higher trade tariffs threatened by Donald Trump could hit global growth and add to economic fragmentation. Andrew Bailey was speaking at a news conference following the release of the bank's half-year financial stability report. He was asked about the possible impact of a Trump presidency, given the higher trade barriers which the president-elect has repeatedly said he will impose.
I think it's very important in the case of the outcome of the US election that, I think I used the phrase when all is said and done, and we wait for the administration actually to come into office to decide what its policies are going to be. We've had the saying, if you like, or we're having the saying, but I think it's really important, of course, that we recognise it's the doing that matters, and so I think it's very important to let that process happen, and we'll see. Now, you raised the points, which are 2 points I'll make on your point about risks. First of all, obviously, however, risks move on the basis of what is expected or to happen or what might happen, and we are seeing increased risk of global fragmentation. But I would say this, that there are quite a lot of causes of that, and I don't think it's right to just pin it on one particular event.
There you go, that was Andrew Bailey speaking a little earlier. Let's speak to our business correspondent, Gurpreet Nawwan, who is live in Westminster for us. It's interesting, isn't it, that the Governor of the Bank of England doesn't really weigh into politics much, but this is the new reality that he and, frankly, this country is going to have to face.
That's true, and he was very careful there with his language, wasn't he, Darren? Careful to avoid directly referencing Donald Trump, but he did give us a very strong hint at what the bank feels might be the risks involved with a Trump presidency, namely that new trade barriers could lead to lower economic growth, higher inflation. It's a warning that we've repeatedly heard from economists for some time now, but also that it could have consequences for financial stability. The bank said that uncertainty around inflation, it could feed into volatility in the financial markets. That could cause disruptions to cross-border capital flows, and that the UK was particularly vulnerable to that because we are an open economy with a large financial sector. Andrew Bailey, as I said, didn't want to name-check Trump. You saw in that clip ahead of me, he was asked a question directly about Donald Trump, and he did speak of other risks to the inflationary situation, including high global debt, which makes it more vulnerable to higher inflation and higher interest rates, as well as worsening conflicts in the Middle East, as well as Ukraine.
And talk to me about mortgages, because we also heard from Andrew Bailey on that, and a real expectation now that simply interest rates aren't going to be cut quite as quickly as we thought even a matter of months ago.
Yeah, interest rates aren't being cut as quickly as we thought a matter of months ago. But nevertheless, they have been coming down. It's kind of widely believed we've turned the corner on the inflationary crisis. But this is a reminder that actually the experience of households doesn't always tally with what's going on at the high-level monetary policy level. And that's because of the lag between cuts or changes in the base rate and in mortgage rates. And the bank said today that actually half of households, 50% of households, are going to see their mortgage payments rise in the next 3 years. That's 4.4 million households in total. And that's partly because just over a third, 37% of households, 37% of borrowers haven't actually seen their mortgage payments increase yet. And that's because they will have fixed their mortgage rates before the middle of 2021, before the bank started ratcheting up interest rates to cope with higher inflation. But they're now rolling off their fixes. So a bit of a sort of a reminder to policymakers that household finances are still under a huge amount of pressure, and that living standards and disposable incomes are vulnerable to any policy that could lead to higher inflation or slow the pace of interest rate cuts even further. OK,
Gurpreet, as always, appreciate your analysis. Thank you very much indeed for joining us here on Business Live. Now, after weeks of hype in the build-up, today is Black Friday. And how is consumer confidence holding up? It's a crucial time, of course, of the trading year for all shops and chains. And among those hoping to have a good festive season is Currys. So let's speak to Currys Chief Operating Officer, Lindsay Hazelhurst, who joins us this afternoon. Lindsay, today's crucial. This month is the most crucial time of the year for traders like Currys, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, Darren. You're completely right. We call this the Three Peaks Challenge, starting with the big Black Friday weekend and then following through into Christmas gifting and January deals. So this is hugely important for retail. If I give you a sense of the size of it for us, some people question whether Black Friday is still big. I can tell you that over 6.5 million people have come into a Currys store over the last 3 weeks, and we will see over 1 million customers walk through the doors of a Currys store this weekend alone, shopping for those Black Friday deals. So it's hugely important for us. Online, 5.5 million shoppers will hit our website over this weekend. Just gives you a bit of a sense, I hope, of just the size and the interest there still is in Black Friday and how important it is to us as a business to trade it well.
And have you got a sense of what's in this year? What are those customers picking up?
100%. So, Darren, what I would say is there's some of the usual suspects. So the nation's love for air fryers has not diminished. We are selling an air fryer every couple of minutes through the Black Friday weekend. Gaming is always huge on Black Friday, and it's the same this year. We're seeing particularly top of that list is PlayStation 5s, Meta Quest 3, gaming chairs, all things gaming is huge. I guess a couple of more interesting trends that we don't always see. The first is probably related to the recent weather. We're seeing tumble dryers and dehumidifiers appearing on some of those top seller lists as well. And a continuation of the trend we picked up last year. So we talked last year about treats at home. About so many consumers were dialing into coffee machines, avoiding the cost of takeaway coffee, but having great coffee at home. This year, coffee machines, but actually that's building trend. So one of the biggest growth lines for us is beer pumps, cocktail makers, pizza ovens, and it just feels like the consumers are getting excited about having a great time, but quite a lot of that is going to be focused around being at home and those treats at home.
Yeah, and I think coffee, we're going to talk about this later, has hit a 40-year high, so maybe not a surprise people are making more of it at home. I suppose, Lindsay, you've gone through a whole list of items there, lots of customers. Is there consumer confidence? Is it high going into this festive period?
I think we are seeing the benefit of the first period for quite a long time, where actually interest rates are down, consumer confidence feels like it's higher. And I think we're getting a real sense. You can see in this store alone, people are out and they are shopping and they are kind of feeling good. So we're taking advantage of that and making sure there's some great deals out there to respond to that. Having said that, customers are still very cost conscious. That's why these deals are so important, and the transparency and trust that they're getting a great deal for their money is still absolutely top of the list for consumers.
And talk to me about stores. You're clearly in one there. A lot of people tend to buy, I think, particularly the goods that Currys sell online these days. How important are those hundreds of physical bricks and mortar stores to the company?
Darren, it's a great question. I think for a number of years we've been talking about, whether there's a future for stores. And for us at Currys, we believe 100% there is. For our customers, we know that they really value the benefit of coming into a store. Technology is confusing, it's expensive. They come into the store, they can touch, feel, try, demo. Lots of different technology. They get the benefit as well of an expert, helpful colleague to help them through. So we're really clear that stores and colleagues are at the heart of our business, 100%. Also what we see is increasingly this sense of urgency and ease. Customers often want to get their hands on tech and they want it now, and there's nothing better than going to go into a store and picking it up and walking away with it straight away. So, for us, stores are very much part of the future.
OK, and just very finally, Lindsay, we were talking about consumer confidence there and some of the challenges facing businesses like yours. One of them, frankly, is going to be tax next year, with big increases in national insurance contributions from businesses and an increase in the minimum wage too. How concerned are you about that? What impact will that have to a company that employs tens of thousands of people?
Dan, you're absolutely right, and obviously you'll have seen the BRC letter that went to the government this week, signed by over 80 leaders from across retail and the hospitality sector really laying out the level of our concern about the impact and the burden that the budget is going to place on businesses like ours. And we're particularly hard hit because we have stores which are being penalised and we have lots of colleagues. But as I've just said, the reality is this is the heart of our business. I can't talk about what the impact will be. We're still working that through. But what I can tell you is stores, colleagues are essential to our business. We'll do everything we can to protect them, but honestly, that's a new year problem. At the moment, what we're really focused on is making the best of Black Friday, the best of Christmas, and making sure we're getting great deals in the hands of customers.
Yeah, just to chase up that though, because, you know, I think, and I've read that letter, a lot of businesses are kind of, frankly, quite angry about this. I mean, do you think the government is listening to business? As I say, many feel almost betrayed by these very substantial tax increases.
Darren, there is clearly a very strong sentiment amongst the retail industry, and I share that sentiment and that concern. I hope the government is listening, and I hope they recognise that retail today in the UK employs millions of people, and we're a really important employer, and the promises the government has made about budgets for growth and supporting growth, we're a business that's very much interested in that. So I hope they're listening, and I hope that we can make some progress. But are we concerned? Yes. But as I said, actually, this is the first time after a very, very tough few years for retail where we are seeing consumers coming out and spending. So we're enjoying a little bit of that positivity before we have to knuckle down in the new year to really understand what this budget means and what the implications will be for us in the longer term.
OK, Lindsay, really appreciate your time this afternoon. It does look busy behind you. Lots of shoppers getting in on the Black Friday sales. Thank you very much indeed. That's Lindsay Hazelhurst there from Currys. Well, let's stay on Black Friday. It is a bargain bonanza for the retailers, maybe for the customers too, but there are a lot of people who feel that the deals that are out there may not be the best possible deal, are they? Let's speak to Richard Chappell. He's co-founder of the Growth Foundation, a leading retail growth consultancy company. Richard, very good afternoon to you. I suppose that's the point. Many people feel, don't they, that Black Friday is a bit of a fad, or it's a bit of a con, maybe. Is it?
No, I don't think so, Darren. Good afternoon, by the way. I've had the pleasure of working in retail for 30 years, starting on the shop floor, actually, in a department store like Currys. And, the last payday for most consumers before Christmas is, the last working day of November, which happens to be a Friday as well. And I think on the whole, most retailers and brands that trade both in physical retail and direct-to-consumer online really genuinely look to give customers the best deals at this time. And one of the things that I've spotted and worked in retail myself and now helping other brands on the retail brands on their growth is that they take advantage of this sort of payday moment where people have got a little bit more disposable income today. Those larger ticket items like those at Currys, who we were just listening to then, are often on sale today. And then you typically see then into next week, those smaller ticket items through, and actually the best deals are now versus, towards Christmas, where some people will hold on and wait out for maybe the Christmas and the Boxing Day sale going early. Yeah. So I would give any of those consumer advice is to go now. And on the whole, there are some brilliant deals around, but always you need to be cautious and check, of course.
And of course, it is an Americanism, isn't it, in the sense that it follows on from Thanksgiving. And I hadn't realised this, of course, that people get paid this week, hence why they're going out shopping. What are they buying then, Richard? What are people this year going into the shops and going online to buy?
Great question. So I agree with your Currys spokesperson then as well. So a lot of the larger ticket items, technology, TVs, consoles and things like that today. I heard actually, as I joined the feed, obviously air fryers and kitchen and home improvements really big. I've actually seen, obviously, a great deal in sort of the gifting space in beauty, ready to drink cocktails and things like that. There's loads of good things going on overall, for sure.
And what about this suggestion, and we heard that from Currys, that actually things are looking pretty positive this year. Is that your sense as well?
Yeah. I mean, I've got the benefit of working across about 30 different brands currently. Some of them are nowhere near the size of Currys. They're in their sort of, startup and scale up space. So they're, like 1 to 2 million turnover up to 20, 30 million turnover business. And they're seeing year on year growths of sort of 20 to 30%, and some even greater than that. So yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely working.
And when it comes to the kind of gadgets you're talking about and the sales that people are kind of going for, when does this kind of stop in a sense? I mean, I'm very much a last minute man. Christmas Eve, if you want to know. We've got Cyber Monday, haven't we, coming next week? When do the bargains stop, I suppose? When do you...
Well, yeah, I think that sort of, as I mentioned previously, if you can get out and shop this weekend, I think you're going to get the best out of the market. Obviously, I'm a big fan of going out into retail stores myself, but you've got the benefit of shopping online, of course, at home. And a lot of online retailers will be giving extended, I suppose, benefits to customers, not only on the offers themselves. A lot of them will extend their returns periods up until the end of January. Quite a few will actually offer preferential delivery costs and treatment as well. So my guidance is to, act now versus waiting. So of course, I know that all of us are a little bit, you've got to get planned, right? So stick to your plan and make sure.
Don't do what I do, which is leave it to the last possible moment. Richard, appreciate your time this afternoon. Thank you very much indeed, Richard.
No problem. Good to see you, Darren. Thank you.
You too. Let's bring you up to date with some of the rest of the other business stories on this Friday. And Nando's is planning to open 14 new restaurants in the UK. The food chain says it follows strong sales, which have surpassed pre-pandemic levels over the past year. Recorded revenues of up to 7.5% to £1.37 billion for the year to the end of February. Prices for public rapid charging of electronic vehicles remain stubbornly high, according to the RAC. It says that the fall in wholesale energy prices has not been reflected in the cost of fast chargers, which can cost motorists more than 10 times the amount of charging off-peak at home. And tattoo artists in Wales say they may have to raise prices following a major crackdown on the industry. In a UK first, practitioners carrying out body artwork and piercings must now meet stricter hygiene and safety standards in order to be given a licence. It follows concerns from doctors about the risk of serious infection. And you can get more on that story and indeed all the business news on our Money blog. Just scan the QR screen that's on your TV or your device right now. OK, you're watching Business Life. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, we'll be looking at how the markets are doing. Pretty quiet out there. FTSE has barely moved at all today. We'll have all the details in just a couple of minutes.
Paris reverberated to the sights, sounds and smells of conflict. There's a focal point to all this anger, and that is Emmanuel Macron. I'm Adam Parsons, Sky's Europe correspondent based here in Brussels. There are dozens of people desperately clambering to get onto that boat. It is a chaotic scene, but it's being watched by dozens of French police officers on the beach. I've reported on migration across Europe, close up on the ground, understanding that sense of desperation and meeting the criminal gangs behind it. This old fishing boat set off from the Libyan port of Tobruk. There were 606 people who were on board. So we've been distributing life jackets to all the people on board this boat, and now the first person is coming on board. This is the ugly side of Italian football.
In Italy, everything is really organized.
Football's problems with hooliganism, racism were just dormant, and now they're back and they're getting worse. We cover so many countries, languages and cultures and work hard to gain trust to bring you the full story first. Help is slowly reaching these places. It's not just homes, but whole streets like this one that have been reduced to rubble and dust. This is a picture of destruction.
Everywhere you look in this mountaintop community, there is absolute devastation.
These are the settlers in waiting, keen to start a new life, to annex Gaza for Israel.
The least we can do is just kick them out of our land.
Gaza, which is just 2 miles in that direction, is under attack again. Getting the chance to tell people's stories, it's a privilege.
Our app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos and analysis.
Evidence of the crisis.
Podcasts, watching us live.
Live here from Washington.
Wherever you get your podcast.
All in one place. And all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
Day of this conflict.
They keep telling us that they want aid.
And this is what's left of it.
Why only in America? People want their country to work.
Just want a job in a normal life.
Why are these homes empty?
I want you to be honest with people.
That has happened within minutes.
Sky News, the full story first. Free wherever you get your news.
Play Sky News.
From the Sky News Centre at 7.
Now that you're up to date, we can go into a bit more detail.
Things can change incredibly quickly.
Taken by surprise.
Have you ever known a moment like this in British politics before? Yes. Cheers. We'll start with breaking news.
Let's get the latest on the ground.
So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better.
Welcome back. Let's have a look through the markets. And stocks have ticked higher in the US at the start of a shortened trading day due to Thanksgiving. On the continent, European stocks have been flat following a mixed morning session as investors assessed the latest Eurozone inflation data, which came in higher than expected. Here in London, as I said, it's been pretty flat for most of the day. The FTSE barely moved, 0.07%. It is up, with the minor Anglo-American leading the pack after analysts give the stock an upgrade from hold to buy. Meanwhile, shares in BAE Systems fell the most in 2 years as Bank of America analysts downgraded the British defence equipment manufacturer because of potential cuts when it comes to government spending in the US. On the foreign exchanges, as we can see, the pound is up again a fraction against the dollar and also against the euro. And there you go, there's the oil, down a little today, around $73 a barrel. Let's speak to Nathan Sweeney, who is Chief Investment Officer of Multi-Asset at Marlborough Group. Very good afternoon to you, Nathan. Can we start with coffee? Because apparently it's at a 40-year high, which is not good news for anyone, I would suggest.
Yeah, so if we look at what's happening in the coffee market, we've seen a dramatic increase in prices. So prices have nearly gone up about 30% over the course of November, and have actually hit an all-time high today. So if we look at recorded history in terms of the price of coffee, it hasn't been this high since 1972. So I suppose you're asking, what's the question in terms of why have we got coffee at these much higher prices? And ultimately it's because of lower harvests in Brazil, and that's due to bad weather. So we've obviously had a lot of rain in the UK, but we haven't had that problem in Brazil. They've had droughts. And because of those droughts, you're seeing that coffee production is down about 25%.
And Eurozone inflation is up.
Yeah, so if we look at inflation figures, they came out this morning for Europe, and it's pretty good news for consumers because really the figures there are coming in about 2.3%, and that's in line with expectations. So that's 2.3% for the year, a 0.3% increase for the month. But it really does give consumers in Europe a little bit of dry powder as we move into Christmas shopping season.
And just briefly on that, very briefly if you can, are you a Black Friday man?
Black Friday, great time to get deals. If you're looking to get that Ninja air fryer, now is the time. And we're seeing lots of millennials shopping, expected to be about 3.8 billion of shopping in the UK for Black Friday deals. It's a big, big number.
It is indeed. Other air fryers are available, we should say, but they do seem to be the gifts that keeps on giving this festive season. Nathan, appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed. That is it for Business Live on this Black Friday. I'm back, of course, on Monday at 11:30. Do join me then if you can. Coming up next, it is the News Hour with Jonathan Samuels. Do stay tuned for that. From me for now, though, goodbye and have a nice weekend.